Well, hello and welcome again to Doing It Right. And you know what this show is about. Listen, if you're passionate about learning about leaders who are authentic, who walk their talk, those are the ones you want to follow, right? That's what this show is about. They are doing it right. And today is no exception. I have Mina Brown with me today, and I can't wait to introduce Mina. I'll tell you just a little bit about her. She is the founder of Positive Coaching Solutions, one of our U.S. country's most sought after certified coaching schools. So stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Okay, so I'm going to get my coffee cup and raise it to Mina Brown and welcome you to the show. Let's just click.
You.
And it was an honor. Excited to be here. We've been talking about you being on the show for a long, long time, Mina, and because Coaching Week is now, first of all, it's coming up.
It's coming up in May.
Right. Tell the audience what it is.
It's International Coaching Week, which is a week that we celebrate the professional coaching world. International Coaching Federation is the largest certifying and independent body in the world. And we've established the first week in May, the full week, as International Coaching Week to shine a brighter light on what coaching is, how valuable it is, how amazing coaches are all over the world. And it gives us a chance to celebrate those people and the companies and the individuals who hire coaches.
And it's so interesting. You and I have been coaching when it wasn't called coaching for a long time. Mina, I remember when I was doing one-on-one work. That's what they called it. And companies back then, I'm not going to tell you how far, companies back then would send executives or emerging leaders to our office. And I just called that, well, we're doing one-on-one work. And there was no ICF. And I'll never forget when that term, executive coaching, sort of hit. So going back that far, since we do, how did you get into all of this, as I've described how I got into it?
Yeah, well, in part, in a similar way, but from an odd angle, let's say. So I started my career in accounting, finance. I started as an auditor with Price Waterhouse. I was in leadership. I developed into the role eventually of chief financial officer. And we restructured the company. We went public at one point. I ran the aerospace business at one point. Yeah. And I loved being, I think I was good at being a good chief financial officer. I really loved leadership and I loved my team and my organization. We restructured the company, sold off some divisions, and I was offered an opportunity to stay on as CFO of the smaller business. But there was something nagging me that said, maybe there's something else I want to pursue. So I did have a comfortable package when I left the company and did some work with a therapist. And we didn't really have professional coaches back in the mid-90s, per se. International Coaching Federation was actually founded in 1995. Which seems a long time ago, doesn't it?
And yesterday.
It
Man,
does.
Yeah,
I know. And so I just decided I'm going to work with a therapist and counselor and did tests and various things. And the thing that kept coming up on the career assessments was teaching, helping, psychology, public speaking, all of those kind of human resource related areas. So at one point I thought I'm going to become a psychologist. I'll go back to college, get my PhD, and become a therapist. So I started looking at different avenues for getting my PhD. At the time, I was a single mom with a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old at home. And so I'm thinking that would be a massive change.
It was.
So, and I'm not sure my kids would have been happy, but we could have made it work. But I thought, that's too big a change for me even, let alone with my family. So I started looking at what are some similar career pathways that would still be in the helping world. And of course, coming out of finance and accounting, I just decided I don't want to be in the quantitative side of business. I want to move into more of the human resource or the helping side of a business. And coaching just had come into being really as a profession in those mid-90 years. So I decided to pursue coaching. And in early 1997, put my shingle out as a coaching, started training. I trained, fortunately, with one of the early thought leaders, Thomas Leonard, and was pursuing my credentialing with International Association of Coaching. And then in the early 2000s, decided, ICF is emerging as the big organization to pay more attention to. So I decided in about 2002, 2003 to get ICF certified, and the rest is history.
Well, I am so glad that you did that, because what I want the audience to know is that you are one of the most illustrious coaching schools. And I was fortunate enough many years ago to go through your school. And there are several schools around the country, right? Even universities now that teach coaches to become coaches. But what I loved about your school was that, first of all, I knew you. I knew your authenticity. I knew your depth of caring about the work that you do, and it shows. And I also knew that you had designed the certification process in a way that I could go through it faster and learn NLP. And I want the audience to know why we as executive coaches need to learn things like NLP and all about the brain. There's so many things now layered on top of just becoming a coach that we who are in the profession need to keep layering on top of our credentials. Right. So what is NLP, and how does that help really anyone who is working with other people? Leaders have to have some coaching skills, right?
Oh, I think so. I think it is the emerging skill and basis for leaders to be better leaders in any size organization and at any level. So I really do advocate for some level of training and coaching for any leaders across the board. But first, I want to acknowledge you were an early adopter. So, early on, we were a very small, kind of a boutique coach training organization, and you had enough confidence and faith in me that you were one of my earlier students. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. And so when we built our school, one of the things that drove us to create the training program was we looked at different other credentialing organizations out. There are lots and lots right now. We looked at different things, and they didn't really have, I think it's like the secrets in the sauce. It's something a little bit extra, a little bit more compelling, a little more science-based, and I just didn't find that. And so my partner and I at the time decided, well, if we're going to spend something together around $40,000 getting credentialed back in those days,
that's right,
let's just build our own. And so she and I hired 2 master certified coaches, 2 master NLP trainers, a curriculum designer, and then she and I created the original program that has lasted now for almost 20 years, and we've continued to refine it and develop it. And It is truly my passion. It is truly what I'm called to do.
Yes.
And so you asked about neuro-linguistic programming. So NLP stands for, and a lot of people aren't familiar with it. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And that really is a study of human patterns and models and ways that we get things done at a level of excellence. It was created by some psychologists and researchers early 60s, and they looked at how do people create excellence in certain aspects of what they do. And they started looking at how do we model that. And of course, we know in improvements, in ways that we want to get better at doing anything, one of the ways we do that is to find people who are really good at doing it and look at what they do. So we look at opportunities to model behavioral improvements that we're aiming for. So that's a part of what neuro-linguistic programming does. We also have speech patterns and the way that we use words that we can notice and use to our benefit in a coaching environment. That's why I think it was so valuable in coaching, is that I can be listening for deeper levels of communication.
Listening. All right. I want to go there because one of your top takeaways you said is you've got to stay curious.
Yeah.
Coaches have to stay curious. And audience, I don't know if you've ever hired a coach, a professional coach who did all the talking, but that's not the point. In fact, is there a stat that says a coach should listen this much or talk this much?
Yeah, I think the typical balance is about 2 to 1, meaning your client will talk about 2 times more than you would as a coach. So it's I'm listening twice as much as I'm speaking. And the old, we've heard that old, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Right. Use it correspondingly or use it appropriately. So I want to listen to what my client is saying, not just the words that they're saying, but behaviors, their eyes, the way that they are either energized or calming down, or just different ways that I'm listening and listening in between the lines.
Oh, the words behind the words.
Behind the words.
And that's parenting skills, isn't it, Mina?
Oh boy. I think for leaders, I think for parents, I think for any kind of conversation, and this is part of what I feel so dedicated to, is how do we amp up the listening part of our lives, no matter what we're doing. We don't have to be professional coaches to be able to listen and to pay attention to what your partner, your conversation partner is saying. We just want to turn down the opinions, turn down our judgment. A lot of listening may be getting ready to present your argument for something. So you're listening for a debate, not necessarily an aggressive one, but we want to suggest that more and more people can listen without an agenda. Listen for the heart, listen for what the meaning behind the words are. And whether or not it's a professional coaching setting or just employees or friends or family, parenting, it is really valuable to amp up our listening and push down our opinions and our judgment.
And that is so hard. One of the hardest things for me, Mina, and again, I'm talking to you, audience, about listening now for this episode to apply into your everyday life, because we are always coaching, really. We are always teaching others. We're sharing opinions. And so the skills that a coach learns are the same skills that someone who really cares about being a good communicator should know. And on that note, Mina, one of them that I felt was so impactful from you, and in my words, and maybe it was from you actually, have a clean slate. Did we talk about that? I think we did. Meaning, behind me right now, you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, is a window you can see out of. But pretend that is just a whiteboard and there's nothing on it. And that was one of the hardest things for me to take away, because my mind is always thinking, and how about yours, the next thing to say, or where is that person going, or what do I need to come up with next? And that is really hard. So that I love that. And staying curious for sure. The other thing is that coaching has to be built on trust. Talk to us about trust. This is such a crazy world right now. And I am finding in my executive coaching career that trust is getting less and less, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you have for people, whether you're their coaches or not, to glean from someone the need to have that trust? Because without it, you're just going to be blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You got to touch the heart before you can touch the mind.
Oh, absolutely. And you've touched on so many important parts. And I would even blend the listening and the trust together. One question that a lot of people really don't understand the answer to is, I'm a good person. I care about other people. Why do I actually need to get trained as a coach?
Right.
And this touches on what you were saying a minute ago about a clean slate and being able to open and create a space for somebody to be able to share in a safe, trusting place. The hardest thing to learn, which you touched on, is that we don't naturally have the neuroscience and the capability in our brain. It doesn't naturally turn off problem solving, because as human beings, we're programmed to be a problem solver. We're programmed to figure things out and to sort out issues, and our brains are prediction machines, and we're just always processing and looking for answers. That's normal human beings. So I say sometimes to my classes that if you're training to be a coach, you have to rewire your brain. You literally have to create new chemistry in your brain, new neural pathways. And that's not something that comes naturally to people. That's why I think one of many reasons we want to be trained as coaches. Well, part of that training also creates what we call a safe space. Yes. And that, an empty board, a whiteboard, an empty space. I also call it creating an empty vessel. So everything that my opinions, my thought, my judgment, my ideas, I try to push that aside and create this safe space so that when you're sharing with me and I'm your coach, you're going to be able to be authentic. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to give you feedback, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to listen to you without judgment, and that's going to help you trust me to be able to be authentic. And I think that's at the core of trust, is to give someone the kind of perfectly beautiful empty space where they can be authentic, and then you in turn can be authentic with them. And that's, to me, that's maybe the only place where real trust comes through. And I think we have to earn trust.
Absolutely.
It's not, I think you and I are probably optimistic. I know we are optimistic. We care about people. We trust people. We give people the benefit of the doubt. But that's a superficial level of trust. What we need to be working for as human beings, no matter what our roles are, especially leaders, we need to be looking for a way to create authentic trust, which is really believing in the person, the heart, the soul, and that is what makes the difference.
So well said, Mina. That is just so well said. I want to ask you about some things just related to today's world. What are the trends that are going on now that you've noticed in the industry? For example, there are lots of different coaches, well-being coaches, stress coaches, executive coaches, life coaches. So how does someone know who to go to? Who do you look for? right?
Yeah.
Because the audience is probably wondering that, okay, I believe you, I want to coach, but who do I go to and what are they called?
Yeah. Oh, there's a plethora. There's just a wide range. And there are a couple of aspects of that because I do train with the International Coaching Federation standards of behavior. And one of the things that I will say to my students on day one is that coaching in the wild is probably a little bit like a blend of many of those things. So it might be a hybrid model. So even a good executive coach, I like to think they stay in the middle of pure coaching, but they might color outside the lines a little bit to give a little mentoring or some advice every now and then.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, that's
that.
totally fair game
Okay.
because I'm going to be working with a senior executive, and I don't think that they're going to want me to just check my brain at the door.
Or ask questions,
And
No.
just that's it.
Yeah.
So I do think even in the natural professional coaching world, I would say we veer out of the lane a little bit, but the best professional coaches have a default setting that is pure coaching. It is staying in the curiosity, staying in the non-judgment, staying in that empty space where you can be authentic. But now there's a lot of coaching that runs the gambit of career coaching. I early on in 96, 97, I had a career coach that wasn't really a coach at the time. They were therapists, but that's a blended model. So a career coach is expected to bring some knowledge about labor markets and interviewing and skills things. So you couldn't have a good career coach that just asked you questions for an hour. So there are a lot of blended models. And health coaching and some of the others you mentioned. I think the big difference in everybody and their brother out there calling themselves a coach versus somebody who is what I would consider a trained, a credentialed executive coach, life coach, even a career coach. They've been trained to suspend their judgment, to default into that safe space and curious space, trusting space. And it's like I think about sometimes a rubber band. You know, you pull it out when you want to give a little advice, but then it automatically comes right back into what is pure coaching, where I suspend judgment and I don't give you advice. So I think a little bit, if you pull that rubber band out a little bit, that's natural. And there are a lot of models of that. But letting your default setting be in a clear, pure coaching mindset, that makes the big difference. So if somebody is out there looking for a coach, the first place I would go is the International Coaching Federation website, and that's coachingfederation.org, and they have a Find Your Coach directory on there, and you can put in, I want to look up for a leadership coach or a career coach, or the people who are in that directory, I guarantee you they've been trained and certified.
Well, first you need to look at me first, please. Yes, we are all listed. We are
lady. Yes, absolutely.
We are all listed. So I would like to know, with technology and AI, isn't it interesting, Mina? What is technology doing and how is it changing, maybe? Or is it the way coaching is delivered or assessed?
That's $1 million question.
Oh, isn't it?
Yeah. I am fascinated. You know, even at my age and generation, I am fascinated by the quick, efficient way that AI can help us in our professions. And so I think it's emerging. We certainly don't have answers. We have some, but there, lots more to come.
It is amazing.
I'm actually taking a class right now to learn more about AI and coaching and learn more about how it can improve not just my coaching, but also my training. And so there's some things to do in training is to help them. AI will help me create some curricula, maybe do some outlining, maybe do some facilitator guides, things like that. And that is an interesting whole
Save
part of
time.
things.
It
Yeah,
saves
saves a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think for coaches, there are several applications, and the one that's popping up a lot right now is the area of accountability or tracking activities and tracking ways that the coaching is being demonstrated or manifested in a work environment, a leader with their staff. It could be a variety of different things that you want to create some specific guidelines, and we can't always think of them. And thinking about AI, it has access to the entire universe of things online, and being able to set some prompts up to say, how could I measure this? How could I validate this other? And those kinds of prompts are giving us some very, very helpful ways to be putting together some metrics and some guidelines, maybe an action plan and some other things that, two heads are better than one, but AI plus two hands are way better.
Wow. Yeah. You've got way too many heads, but it is a tool.
It's a wonderful tool. It's intimidating. It's a little intimidating. Yeah. Now, I have colleagues and friends, most of them younger than me, who are just using it like crazy.
Sure.
And I am learning, and I just really feel like it's going to be a big benefit to helping us think outside the box.
Yes. Well, I would agree, and I'm still playing with it too. Some of the things you also said, and you just sort of talked about it, that everyone can learn good coaching skills.
Mm-hmm.
So what's one thing, just one thing for general public, never mind the coaching industry, just one coaching skill or tool that you would say, audience, if you will just open your mind to this or try this, what advice would you give for people that want to have better relationships, right?
Yeah.
Just better relationships. Listening, of course, we've talked about.
Right. I think listening has to come from this, which is it comes from a coaching mindset. And that is being able to suspend our judgment, to be able to believe in the wisdom and the depth and the capability of the other person, no matter who it is.
That's huge.
It's huge. And in coaching, that's the starting. It's like in a race, you've got these sprinters that are on starting blocks, and they're on their fingers and their feet are on the starting blocks. That's the coaching mindset. And a coaching mindset believes that all people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. People are not broken. Now, there are people who have dysfunction in their lives and they need therapeutic help that goes beyond coaching.
Therapy is
That's
different.
where you would involve a doctor, a psychologist, somebody who is trained to deal with deep wounds.
Right.
And we don't do that in coaching. We know that difference between someone who is, and I wouldn't say broken per se, but wounded. But everybody else, no matter how, we all get depressed. We all get anxious. We all get frustrated in various ways. But a coaching mindset sets us up for believing in the other person, whether it is our children, our best friends, sometimes our parents, maybe it's somebody who's making us mad. But it's believing that that person is a whole human being, is naturally creative, resourceful. They've got lots of internal and external resources, and whole. And so if I start with that coaching mindset for any person that I interact with, even somebody driving in the car in front of me and I want to honk, that, they're doing the best they can. Right. And when we default to that setting, that they're whole, they're doing the best they can, and then it helps me stay inside me more respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're missing, and you mentioned trust earlier, I think we're missing a deep sense of respect for every person, no matter what we can agree or disagree or anything. We should respect other people, and that coaching mindset will help us do that.
Absolutely. So, Mina, if someone wants to consider normal person, not someone that wants to have a career, or what can you bring to the table, and how can people get in touch with you? And it'll be on the banner. You'll see that, to get more information about how they can talk to you about direction, because knowing you will guide them into, well, this is what coaching is and this is what coaching isn't.
Right.
So
Right.
how can people get in touch with you?
I love exploratory calls. I love just having an open conversation with anyone who is curious about this magical space, which is a coaching approach to life, a coaching approach to their profession, whether they're leaders or they may want to bring coaching into a lot of HR people want to bring coaching into that part of their jobs, or they may be small business owners or consultants who want to bolt on, let's say, some coaching to their businesses. So I love having exploratory calls. So my website is positivecoach.com. So that's very easy to remember, positivecoach.com. And then there's a little contact us button where people can just fill that out. I have my phone number there. I have my email there. I try to make myself really easy to find.
Yeah.
I invite people to call and talk to me, and I will be a straight talker. That's my style. If you have questions, or if you want to go in a direction of coaching, I'm not going to try to sell you my program. I want to hear what you want. I want to hear what is your calling. And then I will give you some ideas or resources or some thoughts about different directions. Getting certified as a coach, particularly an ICF coach, is rigorous.
Yes.
I mean, it is not for the faint of heart.
Those initials mean something behind our names.
Yes, it means a lot, and it is a compelling and intensive kind of process. So you don't want to just enter it like it's going to be a hobby. But some people, I do think if you want to use coaching in your profession in any meaningful way,
yes,
I really encourage you to get trained as a coach. It will change who you are. My students often leave on the last day of training and say, this has changed my life.
Yes,
it really has.
It has mine.
And it changes the lives of the people you work with and the people you support and serve. So I think, just first of all, I'm open to talking to anybody. I'm a bit of a talker, and
she really is open to everyone. Call her.
Yeah, I had a 30-minute call last Thursday with a former student who's looking at how to rejuvenate their career and get back into more coaching. And it was a 30-minute call that lasted 2 hours.
Oh gosh.
So I know
they were pleased.
Yeah, so it's important, I think, to really give honest input. I will be honest and direct, and I have lots of contacts and resources within the industry, and I am more than happy to refer if somebody is looking for a specific kind of coach. I have career coaches and health coaches and life coaches who I know personally all over the country and outside the country.
Right.
That I am more than happy. I believe in abundance. I believe in giving and paying forward. And I think our whole lives are benefited if we can embrace and share our humanity with anyone.
Who would go anywhere else? I mean, this woman I've known for many years. I wanted to have her on the show for a long time and share her wonderfulness. And she, as you can see, cannot be more authentic. She's just right out there, and she's going to tell you just like it is. I want to thank you, Mina, for being on the show today. And you can see in the banner how to reach Mina Brown at her school. And it truly is a transformational experience, whether you ever do anything with it in the coaching industry or not. If you're a leader, and everyone's a leader, parents are leaders. Coaching skills help life. I just can't say more about you.
Thank you.
And what a joy to have you on the show. And I want to thank you. I know you've done this, and my audience, those of you who have subscribed to this show. You know I'll always bring wonderful guests who just tell their stories, and their real stories, and hopefully they're inspiring to you and give you some oomph for the day or afternoon or evening. So please hit that red button. Share if this is something you have appreciated. And do make comments in the show notes. I read every single one of them, and I mean that sincerely. Now let me give you my Valerieism for the day, and here it is. If you're fortunate enough to have curiosity, my best advice is to follow your curiosity. I wish I had come up with that, but actually it's a quote I found by Wilson Greatbatch. And so I'm going to say it again. If you're fortunate enough to have curiosity, my best advice is to follow your curiosity. So watchers and listeners, I just appreciate it so much that you tune in to Doing It Right. And until next time, just enjoy life and hug somebody this week. Will you? Smile at somebody. It's a time and space where people are needing a little bit of some joy. Give it. That's it for now. Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.